Welcome to The Explainer. For the longest time, Latin America was just seen as the United States' backyard, kind of undisputed territory. But today, a brand new superpower is on the scene, and it's reshaping the entire continent. We're going to break down how China's money, its influence, and its ambition are challenging a whole century of American dominance.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the jaw-dropping numbers behind this power shift. Then, we'll dig into China's actual playbook, how they're doing this. After that, we'll see how a huge miscalculation by the US basically opened the door. We'll uncover what Beijing is really after, and finally, look at why this has become a high-stakes, great game for the whole world.
Okay, let's dive right in with the economic reality on the ground. Because the scale of this change and just how fast it all happened is, well, it's pretty staggering. Think about this for a second. Go back to the year 2000. China was barely a blip on the radar in Latin America. Fast forward to today, and it is the #1 trading partner for the entire continent of South America. That's not just a shift, that's a tectonic plate moving under our feet.
And let's just zoom in on Brazil for a minute, the region's biggest economy. Their trade with China every single year has hit $180 billion. To put that in perspective, that is more than double the trade they do with the United States. This isn't just a trend, folks. This is a complete economic realignment.
And it's not just Brazil. If you look at all of Latin America, trade with China just exploded. It went from a mere $12 billion back in 2000 to nearly $500 billion today. That is a 40-fold increase that has totally rewired the economic map of the Western Hemisphere. So the big question is, how did this happen? Well, it was no accident. This explosive growth is the result of a very specific, very deliberate playbook, a strategy designed to win influence for the long haul.
This slide really gets to the heart of it. Historically, American influence often came with a lot of strings attached, what you might call hard power. China's approach? It's all economic soft power. They show up not with soldiers, but with construction crews. They offer huge loans and build ports, railways, and power grids, often without demanding all the political reforms that usually come with Western money.
And this is where the money talks. China has basically become the go-to banker for the entire region. We're talking over $140 billion in loans. That is more than the World Bank and all the other major development banks combined. For these countries, China represents a powerful, no-questions-asked alternative to the entire Western financial system.
And look at what they're buying. This isn't just random spending. It's a shopping list of strategic assets for the 21st century. A massive new port in Peru, lithium mines in Chile. They've even built a huge space tracking station deep in Patagonia. Every single one of these investments is designed to do two things: secure critical resources and build economic dependency for decades to come.
So how on earth did we get here? How did this all happen so fast, right under Washington's nose? Well, this next part explains the pivotal moments and the key mistakes that allowed this incredible shift to happen.
For decades, this was the main tool in the US toolbox. It was simple. If you wanted a loan from the IMF or the World Bank, you had to play by Washington's rules. You had to reform your economy, open your markets. But for a lot of countries in Latin America, it felt less like help and more like the US was just writing the rules to benefit itself.
You can really see the whole story in these three moments. First, after the Cold War ends, the US is the only game in town. Then, 2001, China joins the world economy, and its hunger for resources just skyrockets. But the real turning point? Venezuela. The US put on sanctions, but they didn't work. Why? Because China stepped in with a financial lifeline, propping up the government and proving for the first time that it could successfully challenge Washington's power right on its doorstep.
And this quote just perfectly captures the incredible irony of it all. The whole idea in Washington was, hey, if we let China into the global economy, they'll become more open, more like us. But instead, the US basically ended up funding the rise of its greatest competitor and, in the process, held the door wide open to its own backyard.
So this brings us to the absolute core question in all of this. Why? Why is Beijing pouring so much money, so much time, and so much attention into a region that's literally on the other side of the world?
And the answer goes way beyond just poking the US in the eye. For Beijing, this is about survival.
It's about securing the raw materials it needs to power its economy and to dominate the most important industries of the future.
Look at this list. This is the stuff that will build the 21st century economy. Electric cars, green energy grids, the semiconductors in every device you own, they all run on lithium and copper. And Latin America has more of this stuff than pretty much anywhere else on Earth. So China is moving aggressively to lock down that supply.
And you can see the whole strategy laid out right here. It's a clear 4-step path. Step 1, secure the resources. Step 2, use those resources to build and dominate future industries. Step 3, escape that trap of just being the world's factory. And Step 4, use that economic power to become a true global superpower. It's a direct line from a mine in Chile to China's biggest global ambitions. Okay, so now let's talk about the consequences. Because this escalating rivalry isn't just an economic story. It's creating a really complex and potentially dangerous new reality for everyone involved. So what are the stakes in this new great game? Well, for Latin American countries, it's a huge gamble. On one hand, they get new investment, new options, and they can play the superpowers against each other. But the risk? They could end up totally dependent on China, or worse, become the battlefield in a new Cold War. For the US, the stakes are a lot clearer. A potential loss of influence, and critically, losing control over the very resources that will define the next century. And make no mistake, this fight isn't just economic, it's political. China has a one China policy, which basically means you have to pick a side. You either recognize Beijing or you recognize Taiwan. You can't do both. And as you can see from this chart, China's economic muscle is translating directly into diplomatic wins. The number of countries in the region backing Taiwan is shrinking fast.
And this is where things get, well, pretty chilling. Because history gives us a very grim warning here. The last time a superpower rivalry played out in Latin America, during the Cold War, the results were absolutely devastating for the people living there. This quote is a stark reminder that when this region becomes a chessboard, the stakes are much, much higher than just money and trade.
Which leaves us with this final critical question. A new great game is already happening. It's reshaping alliances, it's redrawing supply chains, and it's redefining power in the Western Hemisphere. The only question is, when Washington finally wakes up to this new reality, will it already be too late? Thanks for joining me for this explainer.